India's employment market is likely to see an incremental expansion of 6.33% over the first half of FY 24-25 for 23 industries. Now, this is as per the latest employment outlook by Teamlease Services. We have Kartik Narayan, CEO, Teamlease Services-General Staffing, joining us for an exclusive interaction for more on this study. Thanks very much for your time, sir. First, take us through the projection on India's employment market that is likely to see an incremental expansion of more than 6% over the fiscal year, first half really of the fiscal year FY 24-25 for 23 industries.
Yeah, thank you, Sakshi. I think first things first is that the employment of landscape now more than ever is constantly changing, right? There are macroeconomic conditions, there are technological changes which are taking place. And then, of course, closer home, headline inflation, monsoon, so on and so forth, right? So what we do is twice in a year, beginning of the fiscal in April and then again in October, starting of H2, we go across and survey roughly about 1,500 odd enterprises across 23 industries and ask them a range of questions with respect to their intent to add more manpower or keep it steady or look at reduction. This gives us an overall view of saying whether, there is going to be an increase in overall manpower or, they're going to stay flat. We also try and, go deep dive and ask them questions around saying, tell me which skill sets are you looking at? What are the cities that you're looking at, adding this particular manpower? And what are some of the new things, that you're undertaking, from a manpower perspective in terms of making sure saying their employees are skilled, etc. and all that.
All right, the skill sets that the freshers must focus on then, as per your study, the top 5 new skills and top 5 existing skills that are essential.
If there is one function which is really being looked upon to grow significantly, it's actually sales followed by marketing, right? And then, of course, it kind of tapers down to technical proficiencies, digital skills, etc. and all that. So those really are. So it is no surprise that I think softer skills are at the top of the mind for most employers when they're looking at hiring, individuals, because sales and marketing is what is getting focused at as we speak. So your communication skills, behavioral traits around, attention to detail, other digital literacy skills are some of those skills which, candidates should kind of invest themselves on to be able to make their candidature much more attractive to potential employers.
The top 5 new job locations in India and top 5 existing job locations in India as per your survey then, and is this correlated to the industries that are projected to do well?
I think some of this trend really got accelerated, I would say, because of COVID and because of greater acceptance from work from home, which is now translating into employers being able to find employees in the first place in some of these locations and being able to pay them. So the survey obviously shows, the usual suspects, all the tier 1, large cities, which is your Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Chennai, where, net employment, where employers have come back and said, hey, listen, we're going to add more manpower. But you're right. I think the other interesting aspect is up to 20% of the folks, employers who have been surveyed have come back and said equally that, Coimbatore, Visakhapatnam, Jaipur, Chandigarh, Kochi, are also locations where they are going to either set up greenfield or they're going to expand upon, in their offices existing, employment. So you're right. I think, this is the beginning of, I would say in many sense, the consolidation of certain decisions which employers took because a lot of employees were working, doing their work from some of these locations. And it now seems to be possible for, employees to be based out of tier 2, tier 3 with improved internet, connectivity. That they can be productive from, whichever tier 2, tier 3 city they choose to be from.
Now, as per your study, generative artificial intelligence or AI is projected to significantly impact 35% of talent acquisition strategies altogether. Take us through the aspects then and the trends foreseen.
Yeah, so I think our survey has, said it's 35% of all employers have come back and said, hey, listen, I think it's going to have a huge impact. I think there are 3 aspects which are being looked upon, and I'll come to my own industry in a second. I think generative AI is being looked upon in 3 separate factors. Is it possible for us to be able to increase our revenue, which means, for example, lead generation, being able to, successfully convert some of those leads. I think those are aspects where, businesses are looking at saying if it is possible to increase revenue enhancement by using generative AI, I think they're looking at. I think the second aspect we spoke briefly over the BPO industry is customer experience, right? If there is possible for tools to be able to kind of really respond back, to potential customers or existing customers in a manner which they are not able to figure out it's a real human or it's an AI engine responding back. I think that helps them immensely to be able to improve customer experience 24/7. I think the third aspect is, again, no surprises, is really saying, can generative AI help in saving costs in some fashion? And let me give you the example. Instead of in the HR industry, instead of a number of individuals scanning through resumes, I think if you put across a particular JD and give the AI engine about 100 resumes, it's fairly possible for the AI engine to be able to scan through about 100 resumes in minutes, if not in hours, what will be required by humans, and come out with a response as to which one rates higher. I think some of these aspects are already happening. To your point on, what is the time frame? I think it's a really evolving technology. We should not forget that it's, some of it has really, come into mainstream in the last, 12 to 18 months, really. And therefore, we'll have to give it some time. But I think across all, larger IT services companies are gearing themselves up to be able to kind of take this technology mainstream to their customers. And I think a lot more individual usage, B2C applications will also appear for individuals being able to utilize this technology to make themselves productive. So I would say this year should be an interesting year for us to watch as far as, Gen AI is concerned.
How do you think the rural and urban divide can be addressed then, as well as the digital divide going forward? Take us through the focus areas for those who want to enter the workforce.
No, absolutely. You're spot on, Sakshi. In fact, the questions that all of us grapple with, in the sector that we belong to, because, the general sense is, listen, there's a lot of unemployment. I would say, the problem is much more nuanced, and the problem is really a lack of skilled people available. I think that's the point you're alluding to as well. And you are right. I think we need to do a lot more in terms of, basic education and skilling, etc., and all to make people much more productive. Just to give you one small example before I kind of answer, the main question that you asked. If you really look at it, even Gen AI and, the ability for individual to be productive is really depending on how you are able to query the, AI portal, right? If you don't have the right set of questions to ask, it's not going to give you the right answers. So that is going to become the new, digital literacy that is required of you. Now, when you look at semi-urban and rural, etc., and all that, obviously, the absolute minimum basic that we're expecting is that there is some amount of, education levels which are there. If it is not there, then of course, I think one hugely positive thing which has happened in the country over at least over the last 3 or 4 years is, we have some of the cheapest internet rates in the world, right? And therefore education, by watching on your mobile phones, etc., and all this become a definite new reality. I think if that aspect is there and there's a degree of education, then I think there are a couple of things which, government is doing, working along with industry. I think the first things first is the apprenticeship program. If you would notice, any country in the world which has leapfrogged in terms of, getting into the manufacturing space, which is the focus in India, because India has predominantly services at 55%, is really the route has been through the apprentice program, which means if you have a basic education, 10th standard, 12th standard, so to speak, and you want to get into the workforce to be able to make a, decent income, I think apprenticeship can be the route where you work along with industries, for a period of 2-3 years and being able to get yourself critical skills. Even now, newer education programs which are going to come through, which will allow you that as you are working in some of these industries and you are able to kind of educate yourself and get yourself either a certificate or a graduate degree. I think those are some of the ways where, especially I would say semi-urban and rural people can take a step forward to be able to kind of make the most of it.
Very, very significant employment trends then, and of course, lots to watch out for in this space for India's economy and workforce. Thank you for your interaction.